many different music curricula, students need to work off marked up scores. That is to say, they need to study a score in great detail and make notes on it, or you might provide them with copies of an annotated score. So this is easily done in iBooks Author, and to do it we're going to go to widgets again, and this time instead of using the gallery as we've done before to playback scores, we're going to choose interactive image. Now this is one of those features that you might find just as useful for your students as for yourself, by which I mean you might ask your students to actually take notes onto images in iBooks Author and create their own annotated score, which they can then use for revision purposes. Probably stay in their heads a lot more. Anyway, let's just suppose that we're going to make one for our students right now. So what I'm going to do is you can see I've added that widget. There's nothing in it yet. But I'm just going to pull it out to fit the screen, and again it's got that funny background because of the template that I chose. I'll just go to layout over here in the inspector, and I'll just turn off I think I'll turn off pretty much everything actually, and just make that fit. And I'm going to drag in the second page of the score that we've been looking at, my little score Ropaloon, and that's just going to be imported in there, and I just want to check that it seems to fit okay to the size of the page. That looks pretty good to me. So exactly what should I be doing now? Well, I'm using this as a marked up score. So these two labels are actually going to give me the opportunity to mark things on the score. It's exactly what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is just find a couple of things on this page that might be useful and then allocate them to a particular aspect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going over here now and turning on the transport controls. I find these a little bit useful just to be able to use while I'm moving around the score. You can get rid of them afterwards because the users themselves probably won't need them too much, but I find them useful when you're actually creating this. So I just click on this first dot and that shows me the whole page. And then I'm going to select something. So for instance, this is where the drums are added, and so maybe I'll point that out. Now I've clicked on that, and so it's just zoomed in towards it. So what I can do now is I can actually set a view for this particular thing that I'm pointing out in the score, and I can move these end points of the annotation that I'm going to add. Once I'm really happy with that and I think it's clear, I'll just I'll set it by clicking set view down here. I'm just zooming in a teeny bit more. I'm going to choose set view. Now while I'm here, let's go into here and say hi-hat notation. These cross note heads indicate the use of a symbol or something like that. Not worried too much about the content right now. And again, what I'm going to do is just press on the dot here now so I can very quickly zoom back out and see my whole page. Also, while I'm thinking about drum notation, maybe they don't know what drum clef is, so I'm just going to move that over there and go and set my view, just dragging the page until that's quite clear where the drum part is. And now I'm going to say maybe just zoom in on that a teeny bit more, and I'll click set view, and I'll call this drum clef. This is drum clef. Obviously that's not enough information, but just for the purposes of the demonstration I'll keep it short. Now if I want to add other annotations, I can simply again zoom out just using that little button there and go into here and click the plus button again, and that will add another one, and I'll just make this one a complete nonsense one just for the sake of having a third one in here. In fact, I could just leave the Lorem Ipsum text there perhaps. Or maybe I'll just change it to something like blah and blah blah. Okay, and so now I've got a page of the score annotated with 3 things, and of course you might want to have many more. Now you can see that the score's not fitting perfectly at the moment, so I've got a couple of choices. I can start resizing it, or I might want to actually turn those transport controls off now that I've finished doing that, and just make the size a little bit better for what it is. And just like a cooking show, because I knew I wouldn't have time to sit here and tap in hundreds of things, I also made a page before this. So here's the first page, and you can see that I've already added 4 different annotations to the score here, and if I click on it, they will show up in here as well. So let's preview this again. So I'm just going to click the preview button here in iBooks Author and send that to my iPad, and I will just bring the screen capture of my iPad over here onto my Mac screen, and hopefully within not too long we'll get a preview of this. Here we go, and then we can actually have a look at this at work. So here we are, there's my iBook. It should open on the page that we've just been working on. And again, as I said in the last video, I'm not actually now clicking on this. This is actually a screen capture from my real iPad. So for instance, I can go back to the previous page, come back onto this page, and now let's have a look at what happens when I tap on nonsense language. There. You can see that I zoomed in. I chose that particular zoom so that you could read most of the nonsense language. Now I'll tap on swing time. There we go. And if I've got the buttons open at the bottom, you can see I've left them on this particular page, but let's go to number 3 just by tapping on it. That's the text one again. That was badly chosen. There we go. There's a open scoring. I can press the dot to zoom back out. I can also, by the way, zoom in and out into full screen mode by pinching and opening, and I can then use the right and left buttons for zooming in and out. So that's a pretty cool way of quickly moving around the score. And then I'll just pinch to go back to the normal page view and swipe, if I'm careful, onto the next page. And that's the page that you saw me make right then. So tap hi-hat notation, maybe we'll go full screen, have a look around, there's my blah button, so on and so forth. So you can see that that's extremely useful for annotating a score for student use, or getting students to do that as their own exercise to keep on their iPad. I will just mention again the difference between this page and the earlier page that we looked at where we used the gallery. So this is not going to be so useful for the idea of playing music while you're listening. You could have an audio file to play back on this page, but then when you moved over to this page it would stop. So you'd actually need an audio file for each page, which is fine if that's how you want to work. You just have to cut up your audio into lots of short files. So if you want to have both abilities, then that's how you'd go about it. But otherwise, the reason that the gallery option was useful for following score playback is because on there you can have a single piece of music playing back, and you can also change the pages as the music goes, and the music doesn't stop, which it would do if we were using the annotated score. So it's just a little bit of a choice to be made there.
So go